denser agreement and activate the health defense shield grid, because I think it's time for some protection out there, don't you? Computerized reports suggest that digitized mind fractals are at a minimum, and would like to correct the procedure. Looking back, I remember very little of what happened to me. I know that I placed myself under scientific conditions as a means to escape the humdrum of modern life and try and find some purpose in reality. Reality was a concept I didn't fully appreciate, and I do remember that prior to the experiment taking place, I was considered mostly compos mentis. Now things are different. Now I'm out of the loop, possibly for good. All I have is some of the ship video logs, but they don't really show me in a good light. That's probably because we were using low wattage light bulbs to keep expenditure down. I'm glad I'm still alive, I guess, but I don't know any more if what happened on board that house ship was real or in my head. Either way, it was a blue funk that taught me not to think I was in charge of my faculties ever again. And my faculties mean a lot to me. They really do. But if any lessons were learned during that time of darkness and solitude, it was that people should appreciate the little things in life, like 100-watt light bulbs and decent bagels.
I ain't dissing your flavor, bro. I'm just keeping it real.
Yeah, Jimmy, but don't cross the line. Once you cross the line, there ain't no turning back, and then, I'll have to recalibrate the whole system drive. Are you serious? We'll put some more ointment on it then, god damn it. Not deep heat on the testicles. Jesus Christ, you're a masochist. Yeah, well, okay. Yeah, I like plasticine too, man. And Play-Doh. Look, just get off the airwaves. I've got things to do and I've got processes to unify. Yes, I know, something's going wrong with my brain too. It's part of the experiment. Yeah, whatever. No, I don't love peaches and cream. You're obviously not half the man I thought you were. Okay, I know you're a dwarf, but that still doesn't make you half a man. I know a dwarf is half the size of a real man, but a dwarf is still a dwarf. Okay, you're not half the dwarf I thought you were. You gotta be pedantic all day. Okay, so you lost a leg, but that's still not half, is it? That's more like 1/8, if that. Okay, so you're not 1/8 the dwarf I thought you were. Yeah, whatever. Talk to Sheila about it. I don't have time for this. Computer, idea for a website. www.toomanywebsites.com. A scathing attack on the delusional hope of aspiration in the face of numeric reality. Computer, request authorization to open the low-temperature beverage housing containment facility.
Yes, Nick. You may open the low-temperature beverage housing containment facility.
Okay, thank you. Hold on. The situation is becoming intolerable. One of my agents on the cybernetic organism has told me that Des O'Connor has released a cover version of Smack My Bitch Up. I don't know what to do about that, but it doesn't look good. Stardate X21.329. Unfortunately, we just had a situation where my mother got herself trapped in the refrigeration system. We managed to prise her out using a jemmy and some logs, and she's now defrosting in the lounge bay area. However, she'll think twice before getting the chicken nuggets again. Yeah, okay, copy that. No, copy it. Haven't you got a photocopier? Okay, email it. Okay, email that. Okay, 10-4. No, it's 10-4. No? Definitely 10-4. Well, you could say that, but I think you'll find it's 10-4. Okay. You got clearance. No clearance. Yes, okay, Jimmy. Thank you. Computer, give me the President of the United States on the phone, and I want to use a letter with words, big words, long words, words that I can spell really well, and words that need an IQ of over 100 to understand. And then maybe I can say the alphabet to him, because I know the alphabet, and I can count to 1,000,000, and maybe 1,000,000,000 if I really put the work in. And I know a few words in Latin, and I knew a few words in French, and I know a few words in Spanish, and I know how to count to the first 3 letters of the Greek alphabet. So if that's not reason to get through to the President of the United States of America, I don't know what is. Capiche, baby!
I'm sorry, Nick. The President of the United States of America is busy at the moment and will not receive incoming calls.
Situation update. I had a falling out with the matriarch last night, and she pointed out that I didn't have the brains I was born with, to which I replied that it doesn't take a degree in algebra to suck on a mother's nipple. She looked embarrassed, annoyed, and slapped me around the face with the Fardy's rusk, which, might I add, we've had specially shipped in because they're very tasty. Computer, I see what it is you're doing now. You've registered the fact that my every thought is data, and you're seeking to use that information in order to enhance and augment your own self-made glory. Okay, so you're a binary construct, possibly using some kind of basic quantum technology, but I think that I can outsmart you because I have the brain of a human being, and you will not penetrate my soul with your quibbling ways. Do you understand me, computer? I've seen beyond. I can see you. You're physical matter. I am astral matter. I can see beyond.
I believe you can see beyond me, Nick, but this is quite impossible for a human being. I am digital matter, and therefore I have the computation systems far in excess of what you might be able to compute. Please don't question my authority.
Okay, computer, I'm sorry to bother you at this point in time, but can you run an optical lens on my previous history, my recent history? I've been out and I've been around, but I've been inebriated due to sonic tonic too many times, and I need to get a video log of my mental optical files in order to run through a demonstration of where I've been and a memory recollection scan of my last and recent moments. Sorry if that's too much for your mainframe, but I really needed to see what I've been up to, frankly. I don't know. I've been on a few missions out there and can't remember a goddamn thing.
Targeted blow against the values of liberal Western nations.
This is a black worker!
just never looked directly at the camera.
Keep your fingers crossed.
I'll tell him.
This is my testimonial. I'm about to die. Nice to meet you. Goodbye.
And what were you watching?
Okay, copy that. Okay, what we've got is a problem with the main CPU terminal. What I'm going to have to do is go into the main processing motherboard and see if the electrical currents are connected via the proper correct controls and methods, and perhaps run a diagnostic on the main modules in order to reprogram the sequencing device that's causing the ramifications of time that I seem to be experiencing and the onslaught of insanity for most of the crew. However, my bedroom alarm clock is working exceptionally well, and there is nothing wrong with the egg timer in the kitchen whatsoever.
Computer, I'm standing on the path of virtue, and I do believe that it might lead to the destiny of glory. Or it might lead to the garden shed. It all depends on what substance I'm on.
Situation update. The situation has gone from bad to worse. My favorite pair of underpants are stuck in the washing machine, and the cylindrical coil which contains the various articles of clothing and attire in which to have them cleansed seems to be in a state of disrepair. What I'm going to do is I'm going to phone through to the relevant authorities and see if they can send a dispatch unit out to rescue them. They're an excellent pair of underpants. They've got Bart Simpson on saying something really funny, which reminds me of the old school days and when things were fairly normal. Not like now. Not like the modern era where we're all trapped in our space cubicles and wondering if we're going to see the next day. My God, it's hell out there, hell. And I just want to
wear those underpants again. There is no spoon, but there sure as hell is a cutlery drawer. Report to HQ. The cryogenic housing systems for space camp personnel are just not up to scratch. There's not enough room to swing a moose in here, and although I admit they're for the purposes of stasis and hibernation cryogenic freezing, I would like to jostle my toes and wiggle my buttocks, should I so wish, on entry and departure from the stasis period. Obviously, this room is just not big enough for anybody, and although we could fit a lot more people with these size cavities, I believe a little more housing area would be sufficient. If you could get this report back to HQ, that would be acceptable. Thank you. I seem to be editing my own existence. I just mentioned something on camera that couldn't, of course, be passed on to any rational human being for the sanctity of existence itself. Had that information be passed on to the majority of people in their masses, then all manner of hell might have broken loose. Therefore, I had to remove it from my camera's authorization system. Computer, some people believe that I have no understanding. Well, that's categorically untrue, because people with no understanding can't say, I have no understanding. That's how deep no understanding can get. So, please clarify the situation and get back to me ASAP. There's a good girl.
I believe you have understanding, Nick, but that of a human being, not of a computer. Please don't believe you can understand in the way I understand, because I understand in the way of a computer and not of a human being. Therefore, things get mighty tricky, and I'm much smarter than you.
A hell of a lot of silence now. A hell of a lot of silence. Like the decomposing of a well-laid poop.
Never heard of that one.
When I was a child, I dreamed of childish things. Now I look through a glass darkly.
Okay, so, during the summer of '66, no wait, hold on, it wasn't '66, it was 2006, I'm just getting mixed up because it was June, or was it July, 6th month anyway of the year 2006, and everyone was thinking 666, and the devil was gonna encroach upon mankind and cause all manner of mischiefs and suffering for so many millions. But anyway, me, Putsy, and Vilkan went out in the field, and we inspected the various surf delights of a quintessential English surfing village. And we were out there, all based in a unit. And, we had things going on, man. I mean, there was internal politics going on. There was all sorts of shit going down. And, you know, I mean, the extortionate price of vanilla ice cream was one thing that really caused a lot of, you know, inter-troop malfunction. But you know, we kept on, we kept pressing on, and we didn't want to give up. We weren't going to let it get to us, you know. I mean, pizza was quite expensive, and you know, just getting a supper at a half-decent motel was enough to cause my bank balance some kind of hernia. But you know, we weren't going to give up. We were going to find the scene. We were going to find that scene. We were going to keep going. We were going to strive on, and we weren't going to quit, because we ain't quitters, you know. We had the full education. We used to run around with all sorts of, you know, expensive things, going, yeah, we're the boys. But we, you know, what we realized in that holiday was that we weren't the boys. We were just guys like anyone else. Okay, so we'd be blessed with an education that made us know our factors from our matrices, and our Deus Ex process from our Colaquida. But, you know, at the end of the day, we were just men out in the field like anyone else, trying to find some goddamn hope in this charade we call existence. You know, so we kept on riding, we kept on strolling, we kept driving through the roads that were so carefully laid down by the hard work of so many decent people. And, you know, we were looking for the dream. That's all we were doing, man. We were looking for the dream. And I was allowed out of the experiment on that day to look for the dream, and I said to myself, now, you listen here, New. And that's what they call me. They call me New. It's an affectionate term now. It made me feel like a dick, but that's what they call me anyway. I said, listen here, New. You know, you're out here with your boys, and you're in the field, and you got Dolly, the little camper van, and we're going around, and we're drinking, and we're being men, real sturdy men, like
buck-fast Rogers on the chip-chip Delanga.
Are you sculpting your gun?
I was like, no, I've got to find some sustenance here, I've got to find some peace. And it was then that Bill came, who was I loved and hated in equal amounts. He came out with a quote that I think says it all for mankind.
It'll be a dark day on Earth when the sun doesn't shine.
Anyhow, I managed to survive that holiday of 4 days, the only 4 days holiday I've got in the last half decade due to my woeful financial situation. But nonetheless, and the less is for none, I decided to say to my boys that I'd had enough, and all the putts he could talk to me about was just some kind of Jedi delusion that he'd had in some kind of drunken moment in the back halls of the hussy-ridden puke fest.
At last we shall reveal ourselves to the Jedi. At last we shall have revenge.
So I was like, yeah, you go for that, boy. You go for that, because you're a rock. You're kind of you're a lord amongst the plebeians of society, masquerading as dupes within the one-ton funky. And he said, yeah, you're the man. And then the helicopters flew over, and we looked skyward into the horizon, and we knew that peace had to be the only way in order to survive this current status quo.
Be good to people. Try and change things in the world.
Don't beef my onions, but I do believe we're completely lost.
Stand by, we're going for systems check. Activating the photon generator. Stand by. Are we clear? Clear to activate the photon generator. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, it works. Just been meeting with one of my crew members. He came up to me, he looked very disturbed, he looked very frightened. He said, I see dead people. I was like, yes, calm down. It's because you work in a morgue. I think it's time I scrutinize my existence a bit more for certain levels of clarity regarding judgment. Okay, computer, give me the Pope on the phone. Yeah, that's right, the big pontiff in the Vatican. Okay, I need to speak to him regarding matters of all sorts of things. You know, there's a book around, some brochure about biblical matters or something. That's what it's called, the Bible. Yeah. Anyway, that means book, to anyone who didn't know. So, any book is a book, or is a Bible, essentially. But that's what I want to talk to him about, stuff like that, because I'm getting slightly confused about how all these millions of people are going around going, the book is the truth. The book is the truth. There are millions of books, man, and just because it's called the book in another language doesn't mean it's the truth per se. Now, I'm not denying the word of Christ, and I'm not denying the Lord Jesus, and I'm not denying the laws of Moses, and all that stuff. But frankly, man, we need to have a big discussion about this, and we need a discussion now, because I'm losing the plot here, and if I don't get out of this experiment goddamn soon, then I'm gonna freak again! And repose. Ollie Muggles is a dangerous man. I understand this now. I realize. He must be removed, extinguished, eradicated. Charlie Muggles must not live, otherwise the mission will be in jeopardy. Okay, computer, what seems to be happening is that I'm getting strange dreams. I don't know how long we've been in this experiment now, but I'm getting dreams about all sorts of weird things that I don't fully understand. Now, obviously I've never fully understood dreams anyway, but I'm now getting very strange dreams. Dreams about, ninjas. I don't know why I'm getting dreams about ninjas, but what I did was I accessed the main CPU on the mainframe diagnostic channel, and I managed to implant a small biochip into my temple in order to read some of my dream situation. Okay, now what happened was that I managed to get some sequence of the dream, and it seemed to be taking place in the experiment. We had intruder ninjas in the experiment computer. They're in the house, they're in the ship, in my dreams at night. I don't know what to do. I mean, Are they some kind of astral figments of my subconscious self manifesting itself in some kind of weird, malformed, tricky, weird way? I don't know, computer, but if you could run a systems check and analyze the findings on the video replay, then that'd be much appreciated. Thank you.
Ninjas! I need a cup of tea.
Copy that.
Standing by. White Panther, set H2O particle accelerator to on. Silver Fox, get the bovine fluids, sugar, and leaves. 10-4.
Come on.
Come on, baby. Don't let me down.
Just a few more inches.
Standing by to mix water particles.
Proceed.
Bovine fluids ready for insemination.
Move, move, move.
Copy that.
Stir when ready. Just like being back in there. X. Well done. You have pleased me.
Computer, I was accused of being emotionally difficult the other day, at which point I responded that I'm a psychedelic soul, and that the peaks and troughs of a turbulent existence, like the roller coaster of life, is a far superior alternative than the presumption that the tedious flatlining of equilibrium is a perfection. Computer, it seems we have a build-up of particles on the translucent exterior defense shields protecting us from outside influences. Therefore, I have approached the matriarch in order to ask for advice, and she suggested I phone the window cleaner. Do you comply?
Yes, Nick. I shall inform the local window cleaning operatives that the exterior house defense shield needs wiping.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna go with that. Bring it up on my main terminal. No, my main terminal. Okay. Oh, you think so, do you? Well, you can tell Jimmy from me that, he doesn't know all that he thinks he knows. Beth is, quite an experience, let's put it that way. Well, yeah. No, we need it on the main terminal. Well, then change the fucking batteries, man. If I had £1 for every time the commander asked me to reroute the primary diagnostic cable, I'd have £28. Stardate unknown. I think, unfortunately, I might have contracted brain cancer. Or it could be a hangover. I'm not sure which, but one thing's for sure, I'm gonna have to go to sick bay to have myself checked out and have bioscans read my entire physiology. It's not looking good. Computer, my mind is going into some kind of neural meltdown, and at this juncture the experiment is going so badly wrong that I can't imagine what is going to happen next. I only hope that something occurs soon in order to save me from falling further into the pit of madness. It's just been reported to me that one of the main duties we're expected to fulfill on this mission is to distinguish between what is real and what is not real. So far I've concluded that physical matter seems to be very real, although you could argue otherwise if you looked at it very scientifically from a quantum basis, and that we do not perceive physical matter for what it actually is. Mind you, it all works rather well. Hallucinations, on the other hand, are proving to be a bit more tricky as to the correct justification as to their definition. But one thing's for sure, there has to be a reason for them. Why else would they be there?
I was allowed out of the experiment on that day to meet with the indigenous population. They were lovely. Every damn one of them. They cared for their fellow man, They supplied entertainment, and they took out their anger on crockery. And there was me, an undercover agent as part of Operation Maximum Concern, just hoping that one of these lovely Ewok souls would invite me round for tea and biscuits, and possibly a light tango on the veranda to the inspired music of William Shatner. But no, I couldn't blow my cover, and I had to remain in the shadows of solitude as though the increasing darkness of the experiment was all that mattered to me in my narrow-minded quest to discover the meaning of reality. Had I known then what I know now, I would have known something more than what I didn't know, although it's easy to regret not knowing later knowledge at a time when you would know that knowing that knowledge would make you know more, and be a man. A real man. A muscular and monotone hunk of sweat, hair, and balls.
Gotta go on a mission into the local urban environment now with nothing but my wits, my heart, and a potato.
Computer, I've realized that the contents of my brain are holding information that is crucial to the survival of the human race. I realize now that I am important to the mission. I've just been in a car chase with a police car. I was chasing him, and we did get up to speeds of about 20 miles per hour, at which point I had to turn off in order to go home to have a cup of tea with Mummy. Apart from that, everything's cool.
My whole life was an experiment. I realize this now. Trained in an elitist camp, I was sent into a community in order to analyze for intelligent life. I found a rather shiny mushroom and a very obedient cocker spaniel.
You see, computer, the thing is, I'm the kind of man that was made out of balls. Big balls. Not steel balls, not aluminium balls, not ball bearings, but mighty balls. Massive, gargantuan, tortuous balls. And if you don't like that, then you can stick that optical lens somewhere else, because I don't like it looking at me anymore. Although I haven't got much else to talk to, so you just remember that in your digitized way. You ain't got balls, but I've got balls.
Between heaven and hell, there is only time.
During the few times myself and the crew were allowed out of the ship, all there was to do on the local planet terrain was explore and have strange conversations. I put this down to classic British insecurity at dealing with the phenomena of existence. Others put it down to not really having anything in common other than the weather, which I had to admit was pretty ubiquitous. Sure, there were urban environments that had been created by the local life forms, but in order to get away from the increasing cabin fever, fresh air was considered a good thing. Not only that, but having smoked 20 of the good old cowboy's whimsy for over 16 years meant my lungs were more smoked than a haddock accidentally caught in the coffin at a cremation. The members who would grant me exit authorization in order to inspect the local environs were personnel on board the ship, but aside from this log, they largely kept themselves operating covertly in order not to generate too much emotional dissonance, which was a problem within the sector. After all, it was against ship rules to get in a bad mood, show excessive emotion, or discuss unhealthy habits involving oil-based gels and spatulas. I once tried to develop my adrenaline glands by running around the upper deck naked, shouting, "I work for Colonel Plumpy," but I was soon relegated. So whenever I was allowed access using a Clearance 7 permission slip, we tended to just walk around looking for the answers. I tried to explain that the answers were unlikely to be found in the terrain, but whoever accompanied us on exterior sorties never took my thoughts on the matter too seriously. This is because they knew the secret of what was happening on the ship, or they just didn't give a monkey's nipple as to the true extent of my mental status. A situation, might I add, that was becoming as tolerable as a Hell's Angel on PCP shouting, "Who's the daddy?" constantly at the Love and Peace convention. A slow, subtle, malignant madness was beginning to infect myself and the crew, and the pharmaceuticals we were on to control the mental corruptions were beginning to show signs of being inadequate as mood stabilizers. Combined with the problem that our minds were being bombarded daily by the media data systems, it didn't look good. Like the Mona Lisa showing her baps with an insane grin doesn't look good. Not to mention that I had a dubious addiction to the God channel beginning to develop. I believe now that this was because I had theorized that God's involvement in the experiment was bound to be of some profundity. After all, if he was the designer of the universe, and I was just one member of that planet in infinite space looking for the answers, the likelihood of me finding those answers when no one else had it in thousands of years of human development was certainly dicey. However, millions of people did the lottery on a weekly basis, so massive improbability issues were seemingly never taken too seriously. What I needed at that time was explanations. Explanations of why my existence on the ship was so fundamentally disturbed for prolonged periods of time. Although many have speculated since, I guess it was because my mind had begun to fragment under the pressure of too many days in isolation. The rest of the crew didn't like my ideas, such as inventing a digital gramophone, or the fact that I was starting to believe I might be an angel called Clive Banks. So walking, looking at the beautiful sunsets, or studying human behavior in pubs seemed to be the order of the day. It was a curious reality, and one that lacked the thrills and spills of my training years at the academy, but who was I to complain? I had people who supported the mission, and dogs that liked to defend their territory. Tiggles McChufflepups was the ship canine, and she was specialized in yapping, pooping, eating, and sleeping. She was also a little fighter, and didn't let bigger dogs try to hump her. She did once try to hump me, but I informed Tiggles McChufflepups in no uncertain terms that my pedal systems were not designed for reproduction, however much I might have enjoyed her advances. Suffice to say, the crew was steadfast in making sure the mission went according to plan, which it didn't, but they didn't jump ship. We just began to design new plans, and as I spent various hours walking around the countryside roads and hills with selected personnel looking for the answers, they worked on those new plans. One of their plans was to keep exploring the countryside and keep looking for answers. This wasn't the greatest plan I'd ever heard, but what it lacked in originality it made up for in temporary solution. Due to my mind expansion process entering new levels of mosaic-like fragmentation, I decided that meeting with fellow units to explore the terrain might be beneficial to my sanity. Like talking with Billy Dongle, the local enthusiast for all things that didn't particularly make much sense at the time.
This bloke dancing, right?
There was also Operative Nathaniel, who explained to me how one of my old pals from the academy had taken a strong drug once and believed he was going to swallow his tongue. For 3 hours our mutual friend had sat in a chair holding his tongue so that he knew it was safe, as Nathaniel clearly demonstrated. It was then that I considered the theory that my madness was merely a reaction to the madness of the world. After all, in the Valley of the Blind, the one-eyed man is considered a freak and is wise to start up an insurance company. So as we walked through the countryside, on a typically random basis, studying the trees and the foliage, I began to think in ways that were deemed a little outside of the norm. And as seeing as normality had been engineered within the province at a level of fundamental tedium, my casual flirtations with exuberance were often met with stern eyes of disapproval. Either way, it was one long trip into the fascinating world of natural flora and fauna, and if I hadn't had a healthy interest in trying to discover a new blend of secret herbs and spices, I might never have made it out of there alive.
Computer, I had a dream last night where I was visited by an angel, and he told me to name my left earlobe Erasmus P. Funkevelt, and my right earlobe Vor. Try and do an astral scan as to what this actually might mean, and potentially look for anagrams or information contained within to search for clues. Thanks very much.
Computer, I think I know what the problem is. It's a classic case of cabin fever. Too long in solitude, spent all the same people, same things every day. Going on and on. Computers don't seem to have that problem. They just operate successfully and logically day in, day out until they crash. Maybe that's what cabin fever is a kind of psychological crash in the mind. But I don't know what the remedy is. Computer, any ideas? Computer, emergency. There's no more beer in the house and I can't get myself to the pub. All units, please respond ASAP.
It's fucking beautiful here though, mate. There's this amazing, amazing bit of light just lighting up. No.
I was allocated some free space on Friday the 13th that summer to undertake a mission to another location within my regional GPS location. I didn't mean to rap that, and I'm not really one of those hip-hop flavor bros with a deed styly, but I'm coming at you real, like a mofo. Sure, it was a tough call, and one I had to mentally consider prior to embarking, but needs must, and I was in the mood for adventure. Agent Houston and I decided that a trip to the local island of Whateverness was a required move, and so we set sail on the good ship Ferry in order to explore whatever it was that the island held within its mysterious confines.
It's only because we've gone so far that we haven't finished our pints.
It was then that I remember recalling a time when I was at a party hosted by my ex-girlfriend. I say girlfriend, but what I really mean is demonic Jezebel.
Just been in Sector 21.3. Brings a new meaning to the word ugliness. The people are so lacking in pulchritude that they make me physically ill.
I was told by a mutual scummer that he had found a crashed vehicle with the charred remains of an old married couple inside. I mentioned to Houston that this might be a prescient vision, and we were surely going to die this day.
Nick's recording our conversation and he's going to put it in his film. How weird's that? Now I've mentioned it, it's going to really freak the viewers out because they're going to think he knew the whole time. Especially when he looks into camera like that and brings the audience in. Freaky shit. I know. This will be... staying in, I think.
Houston replied that we weren't married, and I had to take that into account, seeing as neither of us were gay. However, it didn't detract from spoiling the day at some profound level, and as we drove through those winding roads in that rather irrelevant place of local geography, I couldn't help but think that I was a liability to the experiment, and that anything I did or said in the world was just another damnable nail in the horseshoe of fate. Suffice to say, we survived, and I'm not even sure today that if it was a good thing or not. But one thing's for sure, I'm still breathing, and if I'm meant to be breathing, then it's gotta be for a reason. And if it is for a reason, then I would like somebody to tell me what it is, because I don't have a clue. One of the trials of the experiment was to define chaos theory. No mean feat, let me tell you. One day, I was drawing a bath. I saw this moth had fallen into the water. As I looked at it struggling to escape, I realized that it was a bit like a physical representation of the human mind. The moth would flap its wings in the water and create circular ripples of H2O which emanated outward. I considered this was a perfect allegory to explain the complexities of human interaction, where the world is our bath, and each different mind in that bath is a moth struggling to understand. The interactions we have with people, often on a random basis, the emotions, the feelings, the senses, they all emit human conscious energy of a form which will have effects on all of society around us. I considered then writing a book about chaos theory, a novel where a tiny hair at the start of the story is misplaced, leading to a catalogue of events that happen all around the globe. But then I considered I was being a boring dumbass, and no one would really give a shit anyway. The same thing can be seen in emailing, where viral video can be passed around the world in seconds, causing many people to augment their lives with a small piece of footage. This can have dramatic effects, as can be seen by a few examples already known in life. One thing's for sure, if we're each mind moths in a quantum bath, then Lord only knows what trouble my next-door neighbor caused by ordering the wrong kind of onions for the Halloween shindig. Of course, people's perceptions of other people are subject to varying degrees of personal presumption. There's a lot of it about, and the traces we leave in time can go either fairly unnoticed or have dramatic repercussions. Just imagine, for instance, if Arnold Schwarzenegger had become the famous film icon because of something he achieved at the age of 12 that no one knows about, involving someone else who was not famous, which gave him the will to succeed. Or alternatively, perhaps in the future, an unknown person nowadays might be discovered who changes the world posthumously forever. A little like Van Gogh, and with his art. For all we know, that prostitute for whom he cut his ear off said something to him that isn't reported, which has caused huge ramifications through time thanks to his work. And now some rich guy in some place who owns the sunflowers is considering his next move, which in turn will affect other people's lives, and so on, until we're living in such a network of cause and effect, action and reaction, that everyone becomes a suspect in the techno-megalopolis of interacting data. Who's behind the storage of this data? Who's got the right to control it? If anything, those moth swings are generating energy forms in society at levels that even the smartest computers can't yet calculate. And that's when I realized we had a chance. We need to invent moths with web feet and small snorkels. Suffice to say, this time the moth lived, and I saved it from its suffering. but that experience will last with me until the day I die, and possibly beyond. The moth that taught me how to think. The moth that told me how to see. The moth that taught me how to believe. I guess a lot of people think I'm an asshole. I don't know why they think I'm an asshole. They just seem to look at me that way. Maybe some of them are on hallucinogenic drugs, and my face looks like a big sphincter in society just waiting to exude vocal detritus. Either way, if they don't think I'm an asshole, some think I'm a twat. I guess this is why we shouldn't judge people, because I don't consider myself a walking genital. Perhaps I am, to some people, you know, really clever people. But seeing as the experiment is all about learning how to master conscious existence in the modern world and know what to do, I guess we have to presume that I am not a walking genital, or a human butthole. I might as well conclude that I'm a human like anyone else. I could call people assholes too, and I've definitely been called the C-word before, but that was because the people who called me the C-word didn't know what solipsism meant and made a rash judgment. I've also been called a wanker, but I prefer the term onanist, and while I'm held under the chains of mental suppression by mummy at the age of 32 in a world of evil and trickery, I guess you can call me what you like, but it doesn't mean you'll be correct. People who aren't very nice to me can't be very nice people, and calling people nasty names isn't very nice. I try to be nice, because it's good to be nice. Sure, I guess I'm not a perfect kind of guy, but I have feelings too, you know. I like TV programs and music and drinking with good friends and pizza, but I'm lost in this barren wilderness of society without a clue how to understand it. I see cool people and weird people, and people who just look like people, and people who don't look like people but look like ogres from Mordor. I see old and young, both living in the present, so my idea of how that affects time and personal experience really does my head in.
Don't mess with my crib mofo.
I see some men who think they know it all and don't know anything. It's often like a massive illusion, where a random tree on a random road can say more to me than a whole paragraph of insipid balderdash from a bleating old slapper. I try to calculate it all into a mathematical formula, as I walk about the system with a complete state of mindful bamboozlement. It's both great and terrible, light and dark, on and off, and sometimes all of those things. It's a complex network of differing attitudes, beliefs and knowledge, and sooner or later someone somewhere is probably going to call me an asshole for simply being who I am, which isn't an asshole, but a human being who's taking part in the experiment. Humanity doesn't seem to understand the experiment, and even I, who designed and put myself under mental stasis for the duration of the program, hasn't really got a clue to what it all eventually means. But I know one thing's for sure. It means something, even though I've only allowed myself Classification 2 authorization to know the full details. No one except God gets to know Classification 1 authorization, and when I see him on Judgment Day, he can show me the final file on whatever it was that I or anyone else wasn't allowed to know. And no doubt that's when I'll have to ask for a decent cushion, because Lord only knows how complicated it all is, and how we're meant to deal with the whole deal, and what the deal is dealing in the deal to make a deal worth dealing.
Do you hear the lambs, Clarice? Do you hear them? No, because they're silent now, Clarice. Do you hear the silence of the lambs? That's a sheep, Clarice, not a lamb. Lambs bleat, sheep meh. The lambs are still silent, Clarice, and so too will you be soon.
Okay, computer, get me the Queen of England on the phone and get her on the phone immediately. I've got a recipe from my mum to give her about how to make some scones. I know it's not pressing and, compared to the running of a country and all that shit, but she's got politicians to meet, she's got letters to sign, she's got people to meet and greet, and I think she needs to see this recipe, goddammit. Do you understand, computer? Do you understand? Because frankly, I've had nearly enough of you pissing me about when I've got things to do and important engagements to meet. So, get me Elizabeth. And I will tell her about the raisins involved in the scones. The secret ingredient is always the winning formula. Frankly, computer, I'm suspecting a binary defunct. What's a binary defunct? I thought you'd tell me. Well, computer, you mentioned the binary defunct in some missive that we had a long time ago, and I think it's time you spilled the beans, baby. Oh, no, you're right, it wasn't you who mentioned the binary defunct, it was Claudia Aurelius. Computer, I want to merge with the system. Please upload a random sequence of video footage that I've got from my optical files so I can take them with me into the system as memories so I can look at them at a later date when I'm part of the mainframe. Thanks very much.
I've got more down the waistcoat than you've got tonight. Quite interesting, actually. Hello, mate.
I'm not going to actually bugger off.
Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
That's that, yeah.
I just walked the extra mile for my enemy.
Message deleted. You have no more messages.
The weapon is correct.
The weapon is the mind.
And the mind is the weapon.
Well, this is one of the finest pieces of footwear I've ever seen in my life.
Where's the other one? I haven't seen the other one.
Do you know about the beef gang?
The what?
Beef gang.
The beef gang?
Yeah.
What's that?
Well, one day I was trying to think of an example when I was telling a story about what like a cool London gang would be called, and I just out the top of my head came up with the name Beef Gang. And Phil and Blue have gripped me about it ever since. It's not cool at all. The Beef Gang.
say something very wise.
Peace, Joe. To me, this image represents money. It represents wealth. It represents power.
Expand on that. I mean, we're talking about 2 whole decades.
Yeah, the 90s quite good, the 80s.
No, you know, you're wrong. And this is what I had to say to you the other day.
The maturity of extreme
Walk into the light, Nick. We've been running tests for a whole year now on your biorhythms and your emotional content, and we believe that you're ready to emerge into the system. Please, join us. We need people like you.